cricket. And today I think we've got an interesting show. I really enjoy talking to this person that we'll be talking to, and it's about something that's important to everyone in cricket right now. I think we're all having conversations around the Proteas men and Proteas women, and where everyone's going to come from. And I think we've got someone who can help us, because there's another World Cup, because somehow the ICC has World Cups for everyone, which is awesome, and that's amazing. But remember, please do follow us on X, as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel, so you know when we go live, right? I don't need to tell you via Twitter or Instagram or whatever it is. Just subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow us on X. And then also for those podcast fiends, those audio fiends like myself, we're on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Small little growing community, but keep going. We're doing good things, and that's awesome. But you've heard me. There's another person. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm absolutely delighted it hasn't come home. That's all I'm saying.
Why? I thought you were a supporter of the English.
I am supporter of English sport in general, in a general sense, not the football. Precisely because they are obsessed with it. That is precisely. So every time they do badly, it's a good day for me.
Look, I think for me, it's well done to Spain. Commiserations with England. Yeah, it just reminded me of what we went through a couple of weeks ago and last year as well. Because I think losing a final is not nice, and we've had two experiences of those in the last 18 months, and I'm not yet, especially the one last year, I'm not yet ready to get over that. But anyway, cool. Tim, today, who do we have?
We have somebody who's now going to be on the show for a third time. It's a first for the podcast. The last few weeks, we have been talking a lot about the women's game. And I looked back at the last couple of episodes, and I thought we were complaining an awful lot. Now, I think a lot of it was justified, but I think we needed to get somebody on who's actually in the coalface to explain, just to give us an update. What's going on right at the coalface, where the players are and who's coming through and how things are at the level below Proteas women. So you will, of course, know by now that it's Dinesha Devnarain, who is the SA U19, SA Emerging and Academy coach. So she knows an awful lot about women's cricket.
Yes, let's bring her on. Hi, Dinesha. Your title seems to grow by the episodes that we have you on. So now you've got, I think when you started was SA U19, then it became SA U19 and SA Emerging. Now also Academy coach, which is amazing. So congratulations and welcome back.
Thanks, Mpho. And hi, Tim. I think the role has been changing a lot. I think just for concise purposes, it might just be high performance head of women's high performance coach, and that entirely everything below the Proteas. At the end of the day, has to fall through the high performance program. So it's so good to be back with you guys, and I really look forward to the chat. Let's hope that we can leave it in a better minded space.
No, I think we will, because we know we're in good hands. It's just, I think at times we forget, especially with the series in India and what's been happening with the Proteas women, right? And how it's, there seemingly is a gap, but we'll talk about that. But I think ideally, let's start. There's a World Cup coming around the corner, SA U19s. There was a camp. I think SA20 helped a bit there, and you had 36 players. And how's that team shaping up? And obviously, we're trying to. The thing with under-19 is you don't know what the other countries' under-19s look like, but how confident are you?
Yeah, what a lovely experience again to do this in 2025. World Cups in Malaysia, Thailand. So yeah, we actually started the process of Talent ID a lot earlier. So last year, after National Weeks in December, we decided to get the group of 36 in. Thankfully, with SA20, they've helped us with a few camps and in hopes of starting the SA20 Women's League in the years to come. So yeah, I think we're in a good place now. We're at 18 at the moment. We've just completed a series with Eastern Women as well as Namibia Women. I thought it was a fantastic initiative or test to the girls to play against an opposition like that. And look, we won, I think, 4 out of the 7. So I thought that was really good. But we're still in our infancy stages in terms of kicking that brand off. It is a very attractive brand of cricket. And I keep saying this, if it's not the 2023 group or the 2025 group, or if not both groups together, we're going to be in a different place in the next 3 to 4 years. I think with the culture sets that's been happening in the younger generation now, just the brand of cricket that's been played, it's completely a different type of breed of players. So right at the bottom, I think the work's been done. The goal is quite simple. We have every intention of going to the World Cup to win the World Cup. I don't think we just want to play safe cricket or qualify for the semi or get to a final. No, I think the girls have started their journey. And yeah, so it's quite simple for us. Every day we wake up, we've got to ask ourselves, what are we going to do today that's going to make me a champion in 2025? And that process has been going on for 3 months now. The girls have accountability partners with each other. So they've got a random name that they pick out. And what are you doing? Is your diet going all right? Have you run? And I suppose that, at the end of the day, we've got to take care of the controllables. And we'll do that with excellence. At the end of the day, what happens on the field, we've got to leave it all to our preparation and what we've done.
Excellent.
That's amazing.
Last time we spoke, you were talking in a more general sense, but you were talking about how you spent so little with a large amount of players. There was large gaps in between of no cricket or no preparation for whatever series. So we're about 6 months out from a World Cup. How important is it that you have had this camp now, this series against Easterns and Namibia, to gel as a squad this early on, as a sort of base, if you like? How important is that, rather than doing it 2 weeks before the tournament, that kind of thing?
Yeah, no, I think if I had to backtrack to 2023 preparations, we probably about 7 months ahead now. And we're in a very, very good space. And I keep reminding that the squad is far from being selected. So we've got a tracking system that doesn't only happen with those 18. Those 36 girls are still being monitored from a performance point of view, SNC point of view, getting in touch with coaches and stuff just to see where that player is at. So I think the level of competition within the team is so strong that we're always going to expect players to come in and out the system. But having this, like we have 6 months till we get to the World Cup. The nitty-gritty that we couldn't deal with in the last World Cup becomes that. Those 1% we talk about on the field, off the field. We talk about gelling as a unit. Some crazy things I've witnessed in the last 2 to 3 months. So the girls technically have been together from last year, October. And simple things like running a 2K, if there's 5 people behind, the whole team goes and fetches 5 and runs with them. Things of making sure our area is clean. Even if we found it in a filthy space, let's just clean it. Let's not make excuses. Let's go do the work. Now we get into a space where we're getting to know that this bowler can't bowl in certain phases. I mean, we've been so disciplined with our KPI document and the brand of cricket we want to play. Girls start tracking their own progresses and say, you know what, coach, we found out that these 3 bowlers are the best in the power play and we can't utilize them in the middle periods. So those are the conversations we're having at the moment. And I mean, at the end of the day, the squad is fairly young. We have a few 14-year-olds. We have a few 16-year-olds. And yeah, we've got 5 returning players from 2023. So it's a great balance of what's our disciplines and how we want to go about it. So It's imperative, Tim. I think the months we have left is either gonna. It's actually, I'm not thinking short term, so I'm not even thinking World Cup. Yes, we want to win the World Cup, but I'm thinking like these next months actually impacts the system in the long run.
Mm. And it's good to hear that the work is being done, and I love your detailing of the 1% and the things that didn't go necessarily well at the last World Cup, but ultimately it's about creating that pipeline and introducing the girls to the national system, and also being able to get future cricketers. And some of your players who were in 23 have gotten national honors, and to a certain extent it creates that hope and the thing. And I think one of the things that you are working against is obviously getting more girls to play cricket and being able to identify those players in the different areas of the country. Has that become a lot better in terms of talent identification? Because obviously we moved to the province system when we left the franchise system, and one would think that it'd be easier to be able to identify talent across the country, largely because we've now split out franchises and we can touch different parts of the country. Has that become a lot better?
I'll tell you what, you got to ask me this question probably in the next 8 months, and I'll tell you why. We've started this new journey. So I know that the two of you are very clued up with how the boys' structures work as well. And to be honest, we've never had tap leads at a girl's point of view. So just, we get to under 19 week, under 16 week, select the squad, let's go. We're in a position now where I can genuinely say 4 contracts has been signed, and we have tap leads around the country.
Yes.
So it's massive for me, because now it's going to work twofold. So I see it going in this space. Our tap leads, and in the women's space is different. I would like them to get involved in coaching. That becomes our mass participation. That becomes our talent ID program. There's budget set out, so it's not like we got a tap lead for show. There's a budget set out at each region. They've got their performance agreements, their reviews in place, that this is what we're looking for. And that happens on a large scale, which has never been done before. So I'm actually excited what 2027 World Cup is going to look like. Then on top of that, when we come to high performance, we actually have decided that we're going to start a high performance program for under 19s as soon as, while the World Cup is going on. So while we might have 2025 World Cup, Malaysia, Thailand, 2027 prep is already starting from a high performance point of view, where you select at the moment who's your best 15. What's the interventions needed there? Is it is it skill rather? Is there socio-economic reasons that there might be, which school they're going to be at? So we track it from their private coaches to their hub coaches to everything, and that becomes your high performance squad. So right now we've just started off, we just kicked it off, and now the tap leads are busy with the 36 players back home in their different regions. But in 8 months' time, I want to see, as soon as that World Cup's done, if that high performance program kicks off, you're going to have mass participation, then you're going to have talent ID, then you're going to have specific camps, and then you get a high performance. And that is only solely based for under 19 cricketers. And I think that's a fantastic initiative. It was never there before. And I think it takes a few stakeholders in the office and on the ground to make that happen. And I'm glad we're in that space.
See, we've been speaking for 10 minutes, and I'm already positive about women's cricket. I'm really excited about the future. The last couple of weeks, me and Mpho, we certainly were not, so it's great to have you on. In terms of the World Cup, how important is it to have girls that were involved in the last World Cup? Because we look at the West Indian men's team, they've gone fully with the youth setup, and they got found out against England in the first test. So how important is it to have girls who have been at a World Cup, got that experience, did well, to impart on those 14, 15, 16-year-olds that are within your setup at the moment?
Oh, massive, isn't it? You can't buy that. You can't coach that. A World Cup experience, you could read probably 1,000 articles, you could watch documentaries. It's never going to shape up to when you're actually there. And that's something you can't get back. But having said that, it is so important to those 5 returning players needed to understand that it doesn't guarantee me success of getting selected again.
Mhm.
And that's what I love about the 5 returning, is that they set the tone from the first day. I remember one of the players coming back and we had half empty water bottles. And she called everyone, she gathered all the water, and she said, "We do not do this in this environment." So it's
Oh
apart from the
wow.
skill and the experience of the World Cup, you've got the leadership skills off the field where you say, this is not, we grateful for what we get. And this is, some people don't even have this at home. So this will never happen again. And I promised you it's never happened again. It's just a culture that went through. And then you look at the other players where they're so strong in terms of, you know what? I was part of the group last year. I actually lied to myself a lot. I gave myself pledges to this team and I didn't do it. I said I was going to A, B, and C. I didn't do it. And it's a very senior player that said that now, who everyone looks up to.
Mm.
And she said, I wish I had someone standing where I am now and someone saying that. Because you think it's a joke, but until you get to a World Cup, your whole life changes. Because you want more of it and you want to create this best version of yourself. And it's absolutely crazy. You can see the level of skill difference as well. As someone that's been to a World Cup, most of them actually, some of them got professional contracts. And I think that's where the under-19 system is so lucrative. Well, not lucrative is probably not the right word, but so flourishing with talent,
Mm.
is because that's how important my job becomes. Is because that culture that you said, that brand of cricket that you said, that's going to be your cricket in the next 5 years. Um, and just the way that they going about this stuff. And I think that's why there's a high demand for that, because we were not professionalized for a little while. And under-19 cricketers never knew to be professionalized. They just loved the game. And that's why we find ourselves in a space where Ayanda Shlubi can just get a contract because of what
Mm.
they offer to the game. And then you sort of ask, then what happens in the middle? What happens in our emerging space? I mean, all the girls that played then, and that poses an interesting question, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think you've touched on the emerging space, and there's a gap between Proteas women and SA emerging, just in terms of girls coming in and out, and it feels like there's a gap. What interventions are there to try and assist, especially probably under-19 and going through? And I'm assuming SA emerging in the next couple of years will be largely the under-19 side, with
Yeah.
some veterans who've been in the thing. But having seen where SA emerging is and looking where the Proteas women need to be, where are the gaps that you see, and what interventions, if there are, need to be there?
Yeah, look, I think the major one and the biggest one is the act of having international experience in games. It's
Mm.
easy for players back home now to look at that India series and be like, I actually deserve to be there. But there's so many elements that's actually technically missing. So if I look like an Anari Dirksen
Mm.
that was emerging, is there now. Elise Marie Marks was emerging, is there now. It's not sort of they're making an impact directly and very quickly. It's like they're taking a lot of time. So this is not confirmed yet, but there is much talks of having an SAA structure in the very, very near
Mm.
future. And I think with having an SAA structure and playing against international teams and touring international and having bilateral series, that will aid in producing this match winning Proteas. But I think we've got to look at us as a ecosystem, and we take women's cricket and we map it out, and we'll be like, okay, this is a shortage of skills. This is what we need. Do I start looking at under 13 for this year? It's under 16. How urgent is the need? And I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we can get around the table yet and say, okay, all departments are here, pipeline is here, Proteas is here, right? This is our ecosystem. We want to win a World Cup this year, that year, cool. We are lacking batters in general. Just an example, batters. Okay, who do we have in the team that will sustain us, and who's our question marks? Right, those question marks, are you looking at what type of age group of players? And then let's start putting the interventions in place. You are accountable for A, B, and C. there's only one skill document that goes out. Because that's the other thing. I think that, when these players get to another level or different levels, there's so many information from different coaches and clarity is lost. We've seen it happen so many times in the female game. And I think until we get to a point where we all major stakeholders can get around a table, including provincial coaches, every single person, because at the end of the day, we all represent one flag. How do we put the brand across that is gonna the next match winning Proteas coming from where? That's what we've got to ask ourselves. Not the next Protea, because they have to come from our system. The next match winning Protea. And I think that's just that change of language. We've got to start. We've just got to ask each other the hard questions, and we've got to realize that where the women's game is headed. We don't have the luxury of 2 to 3 years. But what we can do is that we've got to find the gaps, we've got to fill the gaps, and we've got to hold people accountable for that.
Yeah, excellent. Last few weeks, me and Mpho we've been watching the Indian series, and we've been, and to be fair, it's been an issue for us prior to that, not just on that series, in terms of the pace bowling reserves. So the men's team, they often have, their academies often have these pace bowling caps on a regular basis. Where is the women's game in terms of pace bowling? Because as much as it's fantastic to have Shlubi there, I don't want all of the emphasis to be on her. Where is women's game in general in terms of pace bowling reserves?
Really, really good at an under 16 level. Really good. And this boils back to my conversation of, do we just let them slide and to put no interventions? Do we not identify them and say, look, we need to look after this kid? So at under 16 level, entering under 19 level, it is so good. It is raw talent. It's just good pace. Here's the other thing that we might have to think about as an association is that why can't we host, like they had the young gun camps, fast bowling camp? Why don't we have something like that for the females? Is there strategic specific camps to produce fast bowlers in the country? Because we knew that when Shibnam left, and Marizan is a question mark now, just with where she is. And Aya is also at a point where she's not playing all the games.
Yes.
So what then? Because then do we look at specialists outright fast bowlers and their main goal is to bowl as quick as they can under precision? Or do we choose, because now if you look at it, we're choosing the extra spinner. And that is that working against us or is it working with us? And it's a question that I can't really answer you, to be honest. But we've got to have those conversations. At the end of the day, I know we do have talent at the moment. It's very at a young level. And I'm saying if that needs to change, we needed to invest in this probably about 3 to 4 years ago when we saw the red flags with Shibnam. So we didn't think they might be that early of a retirement, but we had to have planned. And we're going to be in that because we already have two or three question marks now in that pace attack. Even if you take a Mark and if you take a Shlubi, they're very inexperienced. Can they lead a bowling attack? That's the other question. Same with Anari. So, it's genuine questions. For me, it's about structure.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think there's a sentiments we both have. Is just what are the interventions, and the way I see it is similar to you, right? There's a need. Can domestic setup currently fix that need? I think we can have stopgaps at the domestic level, but obviously ultimately it's up until the players in your pipeline looking down, coming up 16, 17, 18, even in the under 19 side to feed into that. And it also speaks to the other side from a spin bowling, batting against spin and also spin bowling. I think everyone's a part-time all-round spin bowler, but no one's actually taking that craft forward, right? I think Nonkuleko is a great spinner to have and she's world-class and that's great. But obviously, if you look beyond that, you've got Shangasa, but then there's the girls then that come in and will be able to do a job, but it's not their fundamental thing. But from a batting perspective, and knowing Malaysia and Thailand, last time there was ever anything, was an under-19 World Cup. I think my age group's under-19 World Cup. I think it was Quinton and the boys. Very long time ago. Those pitches aren't going to be the same pitches that everyone gets up here. And how are you preparing for that? How are you helping the girls be able to work on their technique, especially on slower, stickier wickets, how to play spin, how to effectively, the timing of a cricket ball here is different to there, and trying to get through the ball. How are you working with that? Because I think one thing we always see when South Africa goes into is India, it takes about 2 games for everyone to figure out how to play spin, to remind themselves that, oh no, we go forward, we go back, we go forward, we go back, and that little dance that we need to do. But how are you doing that with the under-19s?
Yeah, I tell you, it's an interesting question. It's a fascinating question. Many parts to that. I think the batting against spin might be a nationwide problem that we're going to try and figure out. But having said that, so we've identified the skill documents. So it was myself. So I headed the program with numerous of other coaches that works in the girls space, and a couple of analysts that's been to Malaysia, and obviously the information that we have. So we've already identified that we shouldn't be training on like prepared wickets. Like we want to take this as far as we can go. So just training on unprepared wicket. We've got a skill document in terms of sweep shots. What are we looking to do to rotate strike? What are our good options against leg spin, off spin, medium pace bowlers? You can imagine that my team would probably look. We'd probably go to three specialist fast bowlers. I think we're just so blessed in under 19 group. Like those girls don't understand, like they just bowl because everyone has the ability to bat there. And I think that's what's going to make this under 19 team a bit different to the other one. I'm going to go, we've been blessed with a lot of spinners at an under 19 level. I do think 2 are Protea ready, but that's just my opinion. But I do think there's 2 in this team that, and is, one is a batting all round and the other one's a bowling all round. And I think, if I look at the level of women's cricket now, there's definitely a space for them there. I enjoy my specialist top order batters, so they don't get distracted by trying to bowl spin or whatever. They focus on their roles. And most of my all-rounders are probably your spinning all-rounders. And we've worked on a document from a fielding aspect as well. I think that's the first document we did. So we left batting and bowling, we said fielding. Right? When we talk volume, what volume are we talking? Flat, overhead, lateral, whatever the things may be. So there's an actual document. It's probably about 15 pages long, and it's very individualized. So each player's report will not be the same. And that obviously goes out to the head coaches, club coaches, school coaches, private, whoever works with the child gets that document. And that touches about how do we play on slower wickets? How do we get timing right? A lot of drill work, but a lot of performance sessions. And most of our performance sessions are going to be measured on unprepared wickets. And I think that's going to be a major influence. At the moment, majority of our under-19s plays on artificial wickets. So whether it's synthetic or indoors, and that's the worst place. You probably want to do your prep before you get to a place like Malaysia. But so far, the feedback from the coaches, once those documents are out, I can already see that they're making a conscious effort to get the girls on turf, and that we all speak in the same skill.
That's actually fantastic. Very good because I think the idea is to obviously as a coach to import as much skill as possible and prepare them for wherever they're going to be playing, right? And so it's obviously you can't go out and bat for them, but they need to be able to recognize the situation and be able to adapt it. And I think in cricket, it's a lot harder because it's a split-second decision rather than any other sport, right? So that's good news. I like this podcast. Good news podcast so far.
Let's keep it that way.
the other thing that we spoke about last time was the importance of streamlining, and you said that the things right up through from under 13s right up to the Proteas, they were, I think they were more teething issues, but they were, in terms of streamlining, wasn't exactly where you wanted it to be. So where are things in terms of streamlining? Because as we see with all international sides, the best ones are when everybody is playing in a similar way, everybody's talking in the same direction, everyone's after one goal. How are things on that front?
It's massive. It's so much better now, and I'll tell you why. So when we started that 2023 World Cup, we had, like you said, teething problems with this brand of cricket. This is what we want our Proteas to be in the future. And it's so much better now. I think I've probably did about 12 to 16 webinars, either in club cricket, in school cricket, unions leveled under 13. I mean, I think it was Dolphins cricket. They hosted a webinar. And we all know webinars they have their pros and cons, right? But we've hosted a webinar, and there was 270 girls just from the pipeline, with their parents, with their coaches, explaining the brand of cricket. And the feedback after that, insane. So it's a lot better. Look, there's definitely other areas we just got to tap in, because I do want the whole of South Africa to be involved. I don't want it to be like these are your, people got a tendency to say these are your bigger unions. I want it to be a concerted effort where we're all working on the same. So yeah, it's been successful. It's been really successful. A lot of people are just talking about 24 ball cricket. I actually had calls, international calls, about what this brand was. So the fact that it went to a place like India or Australia or England is fantastic. And I think that 2023 group, that's the only thing that comes out of their mind, is that's the type of cricketer they want. That's the characteristics I want to be as a cricketer. This is the brand I want to play, and this is going to make me a match winner. And that just shot up. I mean, the fact that in a women's league, a women's fifth ODI lead, the first 300 scored came out of that cohort of kids. In our women's league, our national women's league, 3 of that players with that much.
One of those. I think I watched one of those. Yeah, it's yeah. I think, if not, but I may be corrected, but I know Simone Lawrence tore us up, or tore up the Lions on one beautiful Saturday, and it was just like, oh, okay, yeah, she's part of Dinesha's score. Like, that's what it is. And obviously, I hope she comes back into the side. But yeah, and to a certain extent, Dinesha, for me, that's what you want, right? But obviously, you want to keep them going through the pipeline. And the big issue we've always had is post under 19. And I know you mentioned you don't have the main structures. A lot of cricketers will disappear. Either to go to university or they get lost in the pipeline. And is there a net that we can catch some of them, even though they may not necessarily have the talent of some of the stars at the age group, but they're those who want to stay in the system? Because I think, for me, the strength of our system is the large, vast number of women playing cricket throughout the country. Is that something that you're considering? Post that and get players getting contracts, and if they don't get a contract, university and the like, or is it something that's missing?
Yeah, very good question again, and I'll tell you why that's a great question. Is because if these under 19 cricketers keep performing the way they do, you can't keep having different professional domestic cricketers. But they keep pushing and they keep pushing. And you look at now, you're probably your bulk of your emergence. So everything between 2023 World Cup, or actually now 2025, and not making Proteas, what happens to those players? And it's a tricky one for me, because I would like to say there should be a safety net, but we've got to define what that safety net is. Is it an age thing? I mean, how do we decide if this is a player that, yes, might not be talented now, but how do we foresee that there might be someone? And I don't know if you remember, but back in the conversation when I said if we get everyone around the table and we've identified our gaps from a national level, emerging level, whatever the case is, doesn't that become your safety net then? Doesn't this
Yeah.
become, okay, you might not get a professional contract, but maybe you get a high performance contract that, we can administer, but you're still being looked after. Because it's usually what happens. It's not the ones that, it's the ones that feel like they have potential, but there's no interventions there. They're the ones that actually comes through. I mean, if you look at our teams now, it's usually the one that's just on the outside that comes through. So it boils back to that first strategic chat that we've got to have. Then we've got to define what that safety net is. We get to a position where we do have SAA. I think that's going to help a lot because SAA should then take care of your top 6 professional teams. National Academy and Emerging should be in the rest of the country. And does that not help such a stronger feeder system through? All it should.
Yeah, it should. And I think the big question we'd get is where the funds come from, but we can figure that out. My only question is always South Africa is a net exporter of cricketing talent on the men's side. And it's ridiculous the amount of players leave here who don't necessarily make the professional jump, but don't have the net to catch them. And so they decide to go. Obviously, others go for various reasons, but that's essentially where my thinking was. Right? And essentially for us is what we want is to have as many women playing cricket as much as possible. And so, you don't want someone to be like, well, I didn't get a professional contract, I'm leaving to go do something else. And Kirsty Thompson's an anomaly because she's working and playing, but obviously now the professionalization of the game is helping. So it's just, you just hope that there's a system because there's 2 teams now, and I think you've got about 25 players that you have seen in the under 19 or who will have gone to the World Cup, either both of them or not. And the question is, where are they? Where are they in the system? How are they doing? How are we taking care of them? Over and above the others who didn't make the World Cup, what's happened there? And so, yeah, I think it's a wider chat, and we need to open up that net as much as possible because, yeah, I want our team to win. I think that's fundamentally who we are.
This is one came from the test match, and I actually thought there were a lot more positives from that test match than perhaps the result showed. But it's on the longer format, so obviously we don't have the money for a proper prolonged 4-day series competition. That's understandable, but I think Laura said it at the post-match conference. She said that even if they just play one game at the end of the season amongst the best players, that would help them get used to the format, become better at the format, and then when they do play international test match cricket, they would then get better. Just on your general feeling on that, in terms of whether you think that would be a good idea, whether it's something that we should think about. Dinesha?
Yeah, that's also a lovely question. You guys are on top form today. And it's good. Yes?
No,
you can hear me?
Just laughing.
We good?
Yes, we can hear you,
no,
Dinesha, yes.
Yes.
There's still a bit of a lag.
Hang on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's a great question because ICC is sort of like teasing us with it. It's like just throw in a test match in this bilateral series or make this a multi-format. So we don't really know where it is. I mean, it's not governed by an ICC championship. And yes, there's talks of it, but until ICC sits down and say, this is the way we're going with test cricket, then fine. Then let's look. If money is the issue, let's go find money. If the structure of a league is an issue, let's go do that. But we've got to be so tentative that if it's not going to bear anything in the long run, do we want to waste those resources right now and we're not 100% in the white ball format? And I think that's it's a dilemma that you're going to have to think about. What I will promote is that maybe at a domestic level is probably create a mini time league there where you can play time cricket or whatever the case might be. But is it something at a national level that needs to be addressed? I'm not too sure, because if you look at the player, the teams, your Australia, your England, they played so many tests. But look at their participation rate. They're allowed to do that. It allows for that. Do we do that yet? And we just want to play for 2 tests? I don't know if in that. I don't know if we're that deep in just yet.
Okay. One last thing for me. Has your coaching philosophy changed over the past couple of years when you in working with the girls and understanding how it's going? And yeah, even a little, I get a sense that the tactics have changed. I think you're becoming a little bit more aggressive with Dinesha, but yeah, how has that progressed over time as you become a better coach and you are in these coaching structures and you're dealing with all these girls?
Oh, lovely question. It's not very often people ask about your philosophy the first time you told them about it. So yeah, another good question, and it's evolved. The question that my philosophy has really evolved into something else. So yes, still the 1% mindset. How do we get 1% better on and off the field? How do I do that daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly? So I'm now in the yearly phase. So all of that tracking is that how have I grown as a coach? Where do I still need growth? That hasn't changed. Just having that, it's people before performance is still massive in my environment. It's that if you want players to perform for you, you've got to understand and care for them. And yes, it's always been the best version of yourself. But I tell you where it changed. So I say, yes, let's be the best version of ourselves in the high performance environment, right? Let's create good safety nets, good emotional, intelligent cultures in the team. How do we promote for excellence instead of perfection? And then it started going that, but how do I be the best version of my disciplined self? Ooh. So it's the language. So it's sort of the context is still there, but it's gotten so deep into say, yes, I want to be the best version of myself, but that doesn't mean I can do everything. That doesn't make me the best version of myself. The best version of myself, but the discipline me, the focus me, the means the ones that says, no, I cannot do that tonight. That's not what a professional athlete does. I shouldn't join those people because I know what that does to my personal life or my professional life. I shouldn't be eating that 3 times a week. So that's where it's sort of still the same philosophy, but it's more focused and it's more driven on how do I keep getting better, but very specifically, how do I keep getting better? Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
It's still around.
That's cool. I like that. I like that. Best version of my disciplined self. Might use that in my life and coach you. The last one from my end, obviously 6 months to go. We're up in the preparation. Obviously, the school is everything else. Any more games in the pipeline before you guys get to Thailand? Any more camps before final selection?
Yeah, a lot. I don't think I can disclose too much. But yeah, follow very closely with the CSA media. And if there's one thing I learned in preparations from last is that you'd rather plan really heavy and let's see what we do get. But there wouldn't be a month for more than 3 weeks actually that the girls wouldn't be at a camp or something. Let me put it that way.
Oh man,
awesome.
We love to hear that. Yeah, we are excited and we look forward to probably bringing you on after you've won the trophy, just so that we can have the trophy in screen and you detail your moments as one of the first few coaches to navigate through a final World Cup final successfully. So that's quite exciting, Dinesha. But thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Mpho.
Sure. Thank you very much. Yeah, all the best with all the prep. We'll be watching. Thank you, Dinesha. Cheers. Bye.
Cool. Thanks. Cheers. Bye.
Yeah, there you have it. We had questions. We have answers now. We're feeling better. A solution is on the way. And obviously, I think Dinesha's can't be the solution for everything, but that we need the right people in the room to assist and move forward. And I think our women's cricket is in the right hands and it's in the right direction, Tim.
You just hit the nail on the head there. Having the right people in the room actually is 100% the right person at where she is. I came into this conversation, as I said at the start, despondent and concerned. We've been speaking for weeks about the issues with the Proteas women. After that conversation, I'm a lot happier, and the future certainly looks a lot brighter. Very, very positive conversation, which is really good.
Yes, very positive conversation, and thank you to Coach Dinesha. All the best with her team. And yeah, look, there'll be teething problems, and I think at the national level you're going to see that over the next couple of years. But hopefully, post next year, 2025, when we see a few more, as she says, Protea ready players coming into the system, that's going to be really, really good for us, and also trying to open up the system, open up the net, get more women playing cricket, more girls playing cricket. We need that because it helps us, helps the nation. And I think the first team to win a World Cup will be this under-19 team. Oh, second, the under-19s there. But yeah, you know what I mean.
Yes, we do. We do know what you mean. It's big call.
Yes. No. The thing about it is with under-19s is that you just never know who's on the other side. And the last under-19 World Cup, India had Shafali Verma. Now she's out. Who else is the next one who's playing senior cricket? We've got some who are playing senior cricket right now. And that's the key. That's what I like, And then you can name them all. And that's the exciting thing. And I think that's what wins you a World Cup. And also the work that's happened now. Like it's really good work. It's good coaching work. It's good interventions. It's everything you want to hear to say that at least when we go to the World Cup. Remember, I think there was a podcast where I said Coach Rob Walters was unprepared going into the West Indies because he didn't have time with the team. I won't say that for Dinesha because she's had an entire 18-month process that's culminating to this moment. And so that's good because if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. But this time we're going there prepared, and now we know ICC and their weird rules of the tournament and everything else. And we've seen the teams, we've seen the styles of play. We're preparing for spin. We've got fast bowlers also coming into the thing. You can hear that we're going to play 3 fast bowlers at times, which is exciting because we need more of that. So yeah, Tim, I'm like, why not? Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Positive vibes, definitely. That's the way forward.
Yes, and to close it out, that's your positive podcast for the week. So if you want good things and joyful things and happy things, please come through. I have enjoyed listening to this podcast. It's what I needed. And if more of the Full Quota podcast is what you need, you can find us on the Full Quota YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe if you already are watching there. If you're watching it, just do it. It's right there, right? If you're watching on Twitter, please follow us on X, and also go to YouTube and follow us there. And also, if you want to listen to us driving because you feel like you want that audio thing, Apple Podcasts and Spotify, we've got you covered. Like we've got Android, we've got Apple. We are on also on Instagram at Full Quota Pod, by the way, if you want to follow us there as well. And yeah, outside of that, Tim, thank you very much. Thanks to Coach Dinesha. And yeah, we'll see you when we see you. That's why you need to like and subscribe. Subscribing will then tell you when we see you. I can't say, yes, we'll be here every Monday. You know that. But you never know. We might have a midweek podcast. So, like and subscribe, and then you'll know. I don't want to make promises I can't keep. So, yeah, let's just like and subscribe. Outside of that, goodbye and have a great week. All the best and lesale kakahiso.